Welcome to Your Second Act, the podcast that proves that life doesn't have to end at 40, 50, or even 60, because when it comes to living your best life, age is just a number. Hey guys, you have me to yourself today. I'm doing a solo. I've decided that sometimes I've got to put myself out there, and obviously speaking to you guys, I love doing that, but I've always got someone that I can bounce a conversation off. But I thought, no, it's time. It's time that I jump on and talk about something that I've really been thinking a lot about. And it's all about female friendships in midlife. Because not only are we changing at this stage of life, but so are our friendships. Now, I've talked a lot about this subject throughout the life of the podcast and my social media about how important female friendships are to me, especially as I navigate my second act. And we often focus on the positive side of female friendships, which there are so many positives. But today I actually want to talk about the other side, part that many of us stay quiet about. Like, what do you do when friendships no longer serve you, especially the ones that have been part of your life for such a long time? That is a tough one. And I've had many different experiences with friendships over my lifetime. And I have to say, I've been lucky because most of them have been great. But some, obviously, not so great. And to be honest, some of them have made me feel really angry and they've disappointed me. And as an empath and a real people pleaser, I've always found it really hard to be honest about my feelings because I just don't want to hurt or disappoint people. And confrontation is not easy, and I've really struggled with it over the years. But I'm finding now, as I'm in my second act, I'm definitely getting better with expressing myself. And let's face it, you start to really care less about what other people think, especially if those people don't really matter to you. And I hear a lot of midlife women say, why the hell does it take to midlife to actually work this out? To say, you know what? You don't align with me anymore. I don't need to be your friend. I don't wish you any bad, but I don't need to put effort into these relationships anymore, especially if I'm walking away and not feeling good about the situation. So I've been reflecting a lot about this subject. And the other day, as I do, listen to lots and lots of podcasts. Mel Robbins, who's one of my favorite, wise woman, she did an episode on friendships and I actually loved it. And one of the key takeaways I want to share with you today is from her episode. And she talks about friendships falling under three pillars: proximity, timing, and energy. And I think these pillars really explain a lot about why some friendships last and while others fade. Now, first, proximity. When we're younger, friendships often happen quite naturally because you are physically around people all the time at school, at work, or kids are at the same age. So you're always together. But as we get older, the proximity changes and friends move, careers shift, and suddenly you're not seeing those people anymore. And neither of you might make an effort anymore to catch up. Then the friendship slowly drifts. And it's not always personal, it's just life. And I know that I've had friendships in that stage of life and they felt so easy at the time. And, it was easy because the kids are at the same school or, we were playing the same netball game or whatever it was. But eventually, when proximity changed because we might have moved on to something else, well, then the friendship faded, which makes complete sense. And then she talks about the second pillar, which is timing. We're all in different seasons at the moment. Some of us are still raising kids. Some are empty nesters. Some are dealing with aging parents or major career shifts. And sometimes a friendship that once felt effortless suddenly doesn't fit anymore because you're just in different places. And it doesn't mean that that friendship was never real. It just means that the timing isn't right anymore. And I remember these friendships, they felt like such a big part of my life, especially work friends. They were part of my everyday. And They were woven into everything that I was doing because I spent so much time with them, to the point where these people I worked with were invited to my wedding. So big milestones in my life. And fast forward 24 years, I don't see any of these people anymore. So it doesn't mean that those friendships weren't real or meaningful. It just shows you that life shifts and priorities change and people naturally move in different directions. And finally, energy. Now, this is a big one for me. The older I get, the more I realize how important it is to protect my energy. And some friendships feel uplifting and easy, while others feel draining. And I've had friendships where I've walked away feeling absolutely exhausted, or I was constantly, I felt, the one making the effort. And at some point, you've got to ask yourself, is this friendship adding to my life or is it taking away from it? And as friends, I believe we should always be supportive and a good sounding board, especially during life's changes. But when a one sided conversation becomes a constant pattern, it can create an emotional imbalance. And some might wonder if stepping back makes someone sound selfish, but in reality, it's about being honest with yourself. If a friendship consistently leaves you feeling drained rather than uplifted, it may be time to really reassess its place in your life. And protecting your emotional well-being is just as important as being there for others. And these three pillars really help to explain why some friendships stand the test of time and while others don't. And I think understanding this helps take away some of the guilt when friendships naturally fade. So I went out to my Facebook group page and I asked this question: should we fight to keep long term friendships alive, even if they no longer align with who we are today? Or is it okay to let them go without guilt? I was really enlightened by the answers I received, and I wanted to share some of them with you. This is why it's so important to keep these conversations going and to be open about your feelings and thoughts, because I think we get so caught up in our own heads that we don't stop and see that maybe the way we're looking at the situation in the wrong way. And when I read these responses, it made me reflect on the situation from a different angle. So thank you to the ladies that took the time to be in this discussion. You really made a difference to me. So here are a few of the responses that I found particularly insightful. One lady said, I think that it's okay to let good friends go if you no longer have things in common or don't serve each other anymore. It doesn't change the fact that for a time you added value to each other's lives and you can still be thankful for that and enjoy the memories. This really made me see past friendships in a new light. They brought value and meaning at a certain time in my life, and that in itself, I feel, is something that I can appreciate. Rather than viewing them as a loss, we can then see that those special connections were meant for a particular season. And it's much more, I think it's a more positive way to look at that situation. Another lady said, what I'm surprised about is meeting people a lot younger than me in recent years who've become really dear friends. I thought I wouldn't relate to young women, assuming we were at a different stage or a different era, but I'm completely loving embracing younger female friends who can teach me so much in midlife. I always assumed it would not work, but I am enjoying my new younger friends. Perhaps it's because in midlife, I have shed the preconceived notions of how life is supposed to look like, and I'm comfortable in myself now, and I really don't care. I love that. I thought, yes, I completely agree. This is where I think age truly becomes just a number. Being open to new friendships in midlife, I feel, is so important. And you might find that these connections feel completely different from the ones that you've used to having in the past, especially if they're people who are much younger or even older than you. Embracing that variety can bring so much richness to your life. Another lady said, I nearly left a group of friends, but they were really upset that I wanted to leave the group, so I stayed. But it really hasn't been the same, and I'm really not keen to catch up with them like I used to. One particular friend I've basically tapped out from as she's just horrible and a really mean person. We have barely spoken, and I like it that way. I'm at the point in my life that I just don't care anymore. And if you hurt me, I'm done. I don't see the need of having negative people in my life. Now, I suppose this is a sign that it's time to really step away from that friendship. Why continue putting effort in a friendship that doesn't make you feel good just to avoid making that other person uncomfortable about their behavior? And really, why pretend? I think friendships in midlife are ever evolving. Some deepen, some drift, and new ones appear in unexpected ways, which I love. And every friendship, whether it lasts for a season or a lifetime, plays a role in shaping who we are. The key is to cherish the ones that bring joy, release those that no longer align, and trust that the right connections will find their way to you. I really hope this episode has given you some insight into a topic that we all find ourselves reflecting on from time to time. I want to leave you with this powerful thought. Some of the most meaningful friendships of your life may still be ahead of you. They're incredible people that you have not even met who could one day become lifelong friends, bringing you joy, support, and a real lasting impact. So I think, ladies, stay open, stay curious, and welcome these friendships that are yet to unfold. I am so excited about that. I feel like I'm in a really good spot in my life that I am energetically open to more connections. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you got something out of it. I really encourage you to listen to the Mel Robbins podcast episode. I will leave that link in the show notes because she goes into a lot of detail and more in depth than what I have. But anyway, I thought this was just a great way to maybe get you all thinking. And some of you might be in a place at the moment where you are really questioning certain friendships. So I just wanted to say you're not alone. Don't feel bad. It's natural. It's normal. And sometimes you just don't need to give it all the energy that you have been, because I think in this stage of life, we want to surround ourselves with things that uplift, help us become better people. And if you feel that you're getting negativity or you feel you're not getting what you need out of a friendship, maybe it's time to set that friendship free. Thanks, guys, again for having me in your ears. I've really enjoyed this chat and I look forward to bringing you more solos. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Your Second Act. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could rate and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to me.